Hey, what's up everyone? Here in this channel, you'll find everything you need to know about investing, real estate, stocks and crypto, and how to get started investing from A to Z. In this video today, I will be sharing with you the commercial real estate terms and definitions that you must know. If you're into that sort of content, please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification so you don't miss a video. I'm sure you've come across a lot of commercial real estate terms throughout your search for commercial space. But don't worry, you don't have to know it all at once. We'll go over some popular commercial real estate terminologies in this video, giving you a good foundation to build on. Commercial real estate seemingly has its own language. Brokers, investors, and developers will use terms and acronyms that you haven't heard or seen before. So it's critical to learn as much as you can about them when getting started, so that you don't miss any important information. So our general commercial real estate terms, the following terms and calculations are some of the most commonly used in commercial real estate dealings. Net operating income or NOI. You may be familiar with this term from your residential investing experience. NOI is equal to your gross rental income minus your operating expenses. Note that there are no mortgage payments or depreciation included in these expenses. As your NOI increases, property value also increases and vice versa. NOI is an important term to know as it determines your current and future property value, how you make an offer, and any future potential cash flow. Next is the debt service coverage ratio. The debt service coverage ratio, or the DSCR, is a term used often when dealing with lenders and financing. DSCR is equal to your NOI divided by your annual debt. The debt service coverage ratio can determine the amount of cash flow you have to pay your mortgage and hopefully make a profit. Commercial winners want you to be able to pay your mortgage and have plenty of room for something left after. This is an important number that lenders check first to see if a deal is landable, and is the first number that we check when underwriting a commercial real estate investment. Next is capitalization rate. The capitalization rate, sometimes known as the cap rate, is a calculation utilized by almost every commercial real estate investor. Cap rate is equal to the NOI divided by the sales price. Cap rate is used to measure a building's performance without considering the financing on the building. Thus, a cap rate is essentially equal to your investment return if you paid all cash for the property. Cap rates vary significantly depending on the building's age, location, property type, lease terms, and other factors. Now, let's talk about high and low cap rates for a second. A high cap rate, such as 10% or 12%, usually signifies a high-risk investment with a lower sales price. High cap rate investments are usually located in lower-income neighborhoods, have higher vacancy, lower future potential, or just require more work. A low cap rate, such as 4 to 6%, typically indicates a lower risk investment with a higher sales price. Low cap rates are usually found in upper middle class or upper class neighborhoods and come with national credit tenants and longer term leases. Next is return on investment. Return on investment, or ROI, is basically your annual cash flow divided by your down payment, the actual cash out of pocket. ROI is measuring how fast your money is coming back out of the property, which is very important for you to know as an investor. After all, you want to know how soon you will make your money back and be able to compare other investing opportunities. Now, I think it's very important that you set an ROI target and stick to it. I won't invest in a deal where I won't get at least 15% cash-on-cash return on my investment. Every deal you do, take cash and time away from another opportunity. Next, commercial cash-out refinance. A commercial cash-out refinance is basically buying a commercial property, then increasing the net operating income through rent increases and expense reductions, and finally, refinancing the loan to pull out the original down payment or your investor's down payment while maintaining ownership of the property. Then there's price per square foot and price per unit. About price per unit, this calculation helps buyers and sellers in determining the price of a property. It varies based on the neighborhood or submarket where the property is located. Price per unit is a calculation usually used for apartments and is calculated by dividing the price of the property by the number of units. Next is price per square foot. To determine the price per square foot, you use the same calculation as price per unit, but instead you divide that price by the square footage of the building. Building classification. Commercial buildings are separated into 3 separate classes based on their characteristics. Class A buildings. The newest and greatest quality buildings with the best location and highest rentals are classified as Class A. They are in great neighborhoods and attract top-tier tenants. So they're usually in the city with commercial on the main level and office hotels or residential units on top. Class A buildings are not typically for new investors since prices are high and the market is competitive. Seasoned buyers and funds can pay all cash and they're just fine with the lower returns these properties bring. Class B buildings. Class B buildings are typically older than Class A buildings, but they are great quality and attract tenants that are average to above average. They're relatively stable properties that are oftentimes targeted by value-add investors since there is room to make improvements and raise rents. Class C buildings. The lowest official classification is the Class C. It indicates that the buildings are outdated and in need of repair. They have the cheapest rents and are frequently occupied by low to mid-level tenants. Apartment investors often target Class C buildings because the ratio between the price per unit and the rents are still good and can allow for some of the highest returns. There will always be demand for these buildings since more properties are becoming Class C every day. But this building stock does require a lot of maintenance and management skills. Now let's cover typical commercial lease terms. Commercial leases can be structured in a variety of ways, depending on the type of property, type of business, and the number of tenants. Here are some of the most common structures that you'll see. Triple net. A triple net lease or a net lease is one of the most common lease structures. It requires the tenant to pay base rent along with the 3 nets: property taxes, building insurance, and common area maintenance, or CAM for short. With triple net leases, the tenant incurs all expenses related to the property, but the landlord's not off the hook. They're still responsible for maintaining the structural components such as the structural walls, foundations, and roof of the building. The only time the landlord is completely free of responsibilities is when the tenant has an absolute triple net lease, where the tenant is responsible for the structural components of the building as well. Full Service Gross or FSG. A Full Service Gross lease, or sometimes referred to as Full Service Lease, requires the tenant to pay a base rent while the landlord covers all the property-related expenses. This lease structure can be great considering that the tenant knows exactly what they are paying each month, but it can also be a double-edged sword. The property owner will probably increase the base rent of the space with a full-service gross lease as a means of risk mitigation for themselves. They want to be as monetarily insulated as possible from any unexpected expenses. Modified gross lease. A modified gross lease, or MG, requires the tenant to pay base rent along with only some of the operating expenses. Lease clauses. There are countless of clauses in commercial leases. While it's important that you have your lawyer review your lease, you should also understand the terms on your own as well. So you've learned some few basic commercial real estate terminologies. But there's still a lot to learn, especially if you're a first-time commercial real estate investor. And there are plenty more tips and tricks that we will cover in our channel, but we hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.